Our next speaker is Casey Moninghoff. Casey is an engineer by trade and a fermenter and a yogi by moonlight. Casey, come on up.
My journey into fermentation started at a farmer's market in Charleston, South Carolina, where I picked up a green cabbage and wondered, do people actually eat this? And I learned that they do, and the most common way is by chopping it up, adding salt, putting it into mason jars, and fermenting it into sauerkraut. So fermentation is not witchcraft. If you just go to the store, you'll see that everything from coffee, booze, yogurt, deli meats, and chocolate are fermented. And a lot of the times, fermentation makes these foods not only edible, but a little bit tastier, a little bit more delicious, and healthier. Maybe not in the case of booze, but for some of the other ones. So there are different types of fermentation. I do lactobacillus bacteria fermentation, and the process of that is you take a cabbage, you cut it up, you add a bunch of salt, and you work that salt into the cabbage. And what the salt does is it extracts the water from the cell walls and undergoes this beautiful transformation after just about 1 week. It's kind of like a magical metamorphosis, as I like to call it. And this is kind of like the before and after photos. It's kind of like looking at your baby pictures and your adult photos. But it's really everything in between that is the most important to the process. So it's really a combination of science and art. As humans, we determine what vegetables we want to use, what spices we want to add, how much salt we want to use, anything else to put in, and then the bacteria are the ones who do the real work. They go munching away on the sugar and the fibers and the cell walls within the plants, but they're compensated very well, much above the minimum wage. They get their own universe in a mason jar. And to us, it's just kind of like a microcosm of life within there, but to them, it's everything that they'll ever know. So I'm grateful for that. It helps me wake up in the morning when I know I have some jars of cabbage to go check on. So the bacteria teach us that there is really no scripture in fermentation. There is no recipe set in stone. It's really just as limitless as your imagination is. The types of fermentation you can do are really endless too. You just have to give them the right environment and they'll go to work. You can, this is one of my favorite pictures. I wish I had 200 seconds for this slide because it's really just the culmination of farm or garden to kitchen and then to fork and table. And that middle piece, the kitchen part, is very important because it allows us to get a little bit closer to our food and to appreciate the design that nature put into it and just observe everything else about the food. So this is kimchi. The Koreans eat about 40 pounds of kimchi a year, which is very shocking. But they also distinguish between two different tastes. One is the hand taste and one is the tongue taste. So the tongue taste is the chemical reaction that happens on your tongue when you eat the food. But the hand taste is the kind of the taste that the chef imparts within the food. So my hand taste will be different from your hand taste. You can just lick your hand and you'll know that. What the chef can do is mimic the art and the design that nature puts into all of the foods. We just take some time to observe the food and we see patterns and colors and a lot of beauty in the food. And by taking time to look at this, we'll end up making the right food choices that's best for us. All the patterns and details, this is a golden radish or a golden beet, something like that. I lose track over time of what vegetables are what, but these I get from the 2nd Street Market. So sometimes we'll measure out how much I'm using, carrots, garlic, beets, whatever it is. But most of the times I just kind of wing it. I'm not a store, so I don't like to follow one specific recipe. And I think it's the best way to do that, to just always experiment. Sometimes people will say, you know, why ferment? Why should I make my own kombucha or salsa, ketchup or hot sauce at home when I can buy it at the store and save time? I say no. You know, what are you going to do with that time? Just sit around and watch TV? It's a lot better to, you know, get in the kitchen and ferment and cook and just have a good, meaningful experience. And I think that fermentation is a very vital part of the human experience because it leads you to experimenting and trying new things. So instead of fermenting in a crock, I decided, let me try fermenting in a pumpkin. Why not? I'll make some pumpkin caraway sauerkraut, throw on on some Dave Matthews and see where it goes. And this one didn't go too well. So some mold took over and killed our little lactobacillus bacteria friends. So when I took this out of my shelf after about a week, my hand went through the pumpkin. That's how rotted it was. But it was okay, sometimes you fail. And as a scientist, of course, I made a backup jar. So this is the, you can see the pumpkin in there and the caraway seeds, and there's still some in my fridge and some in my stomach. I ate it about an hour ago at dinner. It's very delicious. Thanks again to the farmers at the 2nd Street Market for supplying the pumpkin, which is now in the woods, and sauerkraut. Anyway, one of the best parts of fermenting is trying new recipes and sharing it with other people. So this is a spicy honey garlic cauliflower that I made for a lot of my friends, and it's just a very easy entrance point into fermentation. It's a very approachable gate to enter, and you know, part of the best reason about fermenting is coming together as a family at the dinner table at the end of the day, because who doesn't love a hot meal? And culture to me is kind of the hard work that we put into life, and then the fruits of that hard work, or the ferments of that hard work in this case. And it's really just the fulfillment and the meaning that a society creates for itself. So if it were up to me, the IHOP would be the International House of Sauerkraut, or the International House of Fermentation. This is one of the tastiest breakfasts I can think of, and it's just tangy, delicious, and healthy, and it makes you feel good all around. It's very vibrant, it's colorful, and it's alive. And this is all you need to get started, just a knife and some salt and a jar. So I encourage you to go and experiment, and at the break, enjoy your fermented beverages and snacks, and think about the processes that the food underwent to, you know, reach your palate, and be grateful for that. Cheers. Yeah.